I talk to you about what we're doing?
Yeah.
Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's day 2. We have enough left on the book tokens to get 3 more books. I get to get 2, and Sean gets to get 1 because he was a little greedy guzzler. And got a bunch of ugly books that I did not approve. JK, I'm not that child. I did allow him to get them. Today we're going to Daunt Books, which is another famous bookshop in London that I've never been to. But it looks really pretty and cool, and it's quite big, so we'll see what we can find there. So come along for day 2 of the London book crawl. Okay, Daunt Books was super cute, super nice, but we didn't actually find anything we wanted to get. So we're going back to Foyles because that place is ginormous and it's very fun to get lost in. So we're gonna go there, and we have not only 3 more books that we could get, but because we got so many hundreds of books yesterday, we have a 4th book that we earned by buying all those other books. So that means 2 for Sean, 2 for me. Could I be any happier right now? I have a giant stack of books next to me. I have a fluffy little cat. One pet sitting. Our shopping spree was a huge success, as you can see from the 18 books next to me. So let's talk about them. I'm gonna try to spend around a minute per book and not ramble too much, because we have a lot to get through, and even if I spend just 1 minute, that's still another 20 minutes that you have to listen to me. That's quite enough, I think. And as if everything wasn't perfect enough already, now it's starting to rain. Okay, let's go. So the first book that I have in the stack here is Monstrilio, and I've wanted to get this one for a really long time because one of my favorite booktubers, Plant-Based Bride, had it as, I think, her top book of 2023. Not only that, but it is a horror, and so I'm going to be reading it as part of my autumnal reading vlog, which will come out sometime in November. Grieving mother Magos cuts out a piece of her deceased 11-year-old son Santiago's lung. And I think the lung morphs into some little creepy monster. And that sounds really weird and really cool, and I'm just so excited to read it. Next, we have another horror. If you've been here since pretty much the beginning of my channel, which is coming up on 1 year, you may have seen my review of The Only Good Indians, which I still find myself thinking about. So I always knew that I wanted to read more Stephen Graham Jones. And I spent quite a while browsing the horror section. You can't keep me away from there. And I decided to pick this one. Jade Daniels is an outcast, half Indian with an abusive father, an absent mother, in Proof Rock, a town that wants nothing to do with her, and etc. Next we have kind of a funny story. I had been wanting to read an N.K. Jemisin book because I just heard a lot about her. There was like this series that was so good, and I had it on my TBR, and then I was walking around the bookstore and came across this, and I was like, oh, this has been on my radar, this trilogy, and I really want to read it, so I got it. Lo and behold, when I get home, I realized that the series that I actually wanted to read, the one that is like super highly rated, that there's all this buzz around, is a completely different series that she's written. But never fear, it sounded good from like the first couple pages, and it's what, city fantasy, sci-fi, something like that. So I think it sounds interesting. And this is also going to feature in an upcoming video that I have planned, and I will let you guess in the comments what the theme of that video is going to be. Oh, let me tell you first a little bit about what it's about. So, I actually yet don't really know because I got the wrong one. But it says, every great city has a soul. Some are ancient as myths. Others are as new and destructive as children. New York, she's got 6. And all 6 will be called to arms in the greatest battle the city has ever fought. Interesting. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, this next one is exciting to me because I attended one event at the Brighton Book Festival this year, and the event that I attended was all about fantasy. One of the authors that was speaking on the panel was the author of Feybound. It looks cool, it sounds interesting, it's a woman of color who wrote it. It has a map. It's been a long time since I read a book with a map in the front. And I don't really know exactly what it's about, but I know that there's a warrior. I know there's LGBTQ plus relationship. I know there's fairies and elves, or fae rather. Here's another hint for that upcoming video. This book is also going to feature alongside this. What's it gonna be? Moving on. Oh my gosh. I loved Matrix by Lauren Groff, which is all the way on the top shelf up there, so I'm not going to get it right now. But I thought that book was so beautiful, and I've not even barely heard of this book, but I saw the author. The premise sounds very similar to Matrix. It's also about a girl who's like on her own out in the world. I just am really excited to have another Lauren Groff book because I think she has such beautiful writing, and it's really like atmospheric and stuff. So I feel like this could be a nice one to read during the winter or something like that. Oh my god, I'm extremely excited about this one too, because it's Julia Armfield who wrote Our Wives Under the Sea, which is also on the top shelf. And that book was so good. It was like my favorite book of last year. And then I saw this just randomly sitting on a shelf, and I immediately got it. I don't even know what it's about. I just knew that I wanted to read it. There's no way to bury a body in earth which is flooded. It is a fact consigned to history along with almost anything else. That's how it starts. And then it says, it's been raining for a long time now, for so long that the lands have reshaped themselves. Arcane rituals and religions have crept back into practice. Sisters Isla, Irene, and Agnes have not spoken in some time when their estranged father dies. They find themselves uncertain of how to grieve his passing when everything around them seems to be ending anyway. Okay, that sounds really autumnal. Also, I just can't get over this cover, and just the whole look is like giving vintage horror movie, retro vibes. I love the color scheme, and it just sparks so much joy. I love it. You're probably wondering, like, wasn't this a gift from Sean's colleagues? Did he not get any books? He did. Okay. This was one that we both were immediately drawn to on this display shelf, and I'm sure you can understand why. It looks so good, and it sounds so good, and it's also horror, and I just can't get enough. It says Alligator Point, Louisiana, population 141. Young Renee Pontiac has heard stories of the Piper, and now the legend feels horrifically real. Children are being taken and gruesomely slain. You know, this sounds like a perfect horror to read during the summertime, so maybe I'll save it for then. Annihilation. I have like a small selection of films that I didn't like because they were advertised as horror and I wasn't scared by them, and Annihilation fits in that list. I think I need to watch it again knowing what I know now, but before I do that I want to read it. Dang it, the camera died. But I kind of want to finish talking about these books instead of waiting to charge the camera, so let's just do it. Just to finish up quickly with this one, this book is also going to feature in that video I mentioned with The City We Became and Feybound. The plot thickens. What's the theme of the video, y'all? Oh! Moving right along, I saw this book, which those of you who watched my Palestine blog will know that I absolutely loved from the books that I read. So when I saw this, I just really knew I had to get it for the collection. Oh, and Free Palestine. Next up, we have a book that Sean and I both, as like a mini book club, tried to listen to on audiobook, but there's something about listening to romance and sensual scenes that just makes it impossible. But the book comes so well recommended, and the movie is so romantic, and that is Call Me By Your Name. This is like the second book that I think would be perfect to read in the summertime, which means that my summer reading is doing its planning all on its own. So yeah, that would be good, I think. I love a good romance. A good romance. This next one, you may not be surprised to learn, is another horror, but it's one that I am so intrigued by that Sean found that I probably never would have looked at or picked up because I never heard of it. It's called Mother Naked by Glenn James Brown. What's so intriguing about this one is, you know how back in the day there would be these like traveling storytellers? Well, that's who this guy is. Mother Naked is his name, and the story he's come to tell is the legend of the fell wraith, the gruesome walking ghost. Some say slaughtered the nearby village of Segersten, pronunciation, 40 years earlier. The whole thing is told like from this storyteller's perspective. Friends, friends, ye be angered, aye, but hush as I tell you of the particulars. Like, the whole book is written like that, which I think is really cool. Okay, now we're getting to the ones that Sean picked out that I don't really know that much about, so I'll try not to ramble on too much. The Maniac, which has a really cool cover, first of all. Second of all, it just says, in a scintillating mix of fact and fiction, The Maniac tells the dark foundation myths of our modern world and the nascent era of AI. At its core is John von Neumann, a titan of science who revolutionized many fields, from game theory to computer systems, and helped develop the atomic bomb. With dazzling mastery, weaves von Neumann's story together with the crises in physics at the beginning of the 20th century and humanity's showdown with artificial intelligence 100 years later. I am confused. Like, is it fiction? Is it nonfiction? It says fiction, so I think it, as stated, is a combination, but I just don't understand how that would work. So I'm interested to find out. Then we have an Italo Calvino book, If on a Winter's Night a Traveler, which intrigued Sean, I know, because it's written in second person. And it is intriguing. It starts, "You are about to begin reading Italo Calvino's new novel. Relax, concentrate, dispel every other thought. Let the world around you fade. Best to close the door." And he goes on like that for a while. And even if you go a bit later, it says something like, "You have now read about 30 pages and you're becoming caught up in the story. At a certain point you remark, this sentence sounds somehow familiar." I'm intrigued. Also, winter book alert. If on a winter's night, a traveler, Santa. Oh my gosh, this one has now become the most hideous book that I own. Thanks to Sean. It's fine. I don't. This one does sound pretty good though. It says, "One snowy night in Toronto, famous actor Arthur Leander dies on stage whilst performing the role of a lifetime. That same evening, a deadly virus touches down in North America. The world will never be the same again." 20 years later, Kirsten, an actress in the Traveling Symphony, performs Shakespeare in the settlements that have grown up since the collapse. But then her newly hopeful world is threatened. I love apocalyptic stuff. Okay, 3 left. We finally caved and got Yellowface. I don't know what made us decide to finally buy it. Maybe because we saw this cool one with black the pages. Maybe because I finally cracked it open and I was intrigued by the first few lines and it looked appealing to read. We've also heard from people that it's entertaining. I still am like confused as to whether it's a comedy, if it's a drama. When failed writer June Hayward witnesses her rival Athena Liu die in a freak accident, she sees her opportunity and takes it. So what if it means stealing Athena's final manuscript? So what if it means borrowing her identity? And so what if the first lie is only the beginning? The penultimate book, if you will, is The Three-Body Problem, which is a sci-fi out of China in 1967. Somebody witnesses Red Guards beat her father to death during China's Cultural Revolution. This singular event will shape not only the rest of her life, but also the future of mankind. 4 days later, Beijing police ask a nanotech engineer to infiltrate a secretive cabal of scientists after a spate of inexplicable suicides. His investigation will lead him to a mysterious online game and immerse him in a virtual world ruled by the intractable and unpredictable interaction of its 3 sons. This is the three-body problem, and it is the key to everything. The key to the scientist's death, the key to a conspiracy that spans light years, and the key to the extinction-level threat humanity now faces. I think that sounds really interesting because I really love books. Well, okay, there's only one I can think of, which is Ready Player One, that have a virtual world. So I think this will be good. This was Sean who had heard of this one and apparently like heard a lot about it, so I would kind of be going in blind, which I like. So that's that one. And then the very last book Sean brought out of the graphic novel section, and it's called Killing and Dying. I really like interspersing my reading with graphic novels here and there, especially after reading a maybe big, giant book. It's sometimes nice to follow it up with a short and sweet graphic novel. Sounds like it's short stories. On the back it just says quotes and awards, which makes it difficult to know what it's about. Oh, the inside also just says quotes. And the back has a author bio. So this would really be going in blind. So anyway, moving on. Those are all the books we got on our super fun weekend long book shopping spree. And it was super fun, as aforementioned. And I just can't wait to read these books. Did I say I'm going to start with Monstrilio? Because I think I am. And it's going to be so great. And you'll hear what I think in my upcoming video in a while, because I have a lot of books to read this beautiful autumn season, my favorite time for reading. I hope you enjoyed coming along for the ride and getting all these books with us. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye!